All right, a massive blow to the Congress party. Veteran leader and one of Congress's biggest legal voices, Kapil Sibal, has dumped the Gandhi family. Sibal, who fronted the G23 rebel group calling for Congress reforms repeatedly, has said that he quit the party on 16th of May itself. Today, he was accompanied by SP Chief Akhilesh Yadav while filing his nomination for the Rajya Sabha on an SP ticket in Lucknow. After filing nomination, he said that he wants to be an independent voice in the Rajya Sabha to take on the Modi government's shortcomings. Sibal is believed to share a warm relationship with many SP leaders, including Akhilesh Yadav. He also managed to secure bail for Azam Khan. He recently represented Azam Khan in the Supreme Court, helped him secure bail at a time when he was in need. He seemed to have stood up for the Samajwadi Party even in 2017 when he helped Akhilesh Yadav manage to secure the bicycle symbol for the party. This comes after Patidar leader Hardik Patel, Congress's Punjab face Sunil Jakhar have both quit the party. This is the third senior Congress leader who has given a big blow to the grand old party at this point. According to sources, in fact, we're looking at Hardik Patel, who is now currently mulling over joining the BJP, while Sunil Jakhar openly was invited and joined the BJP with JP Nadda present as part of that induction ceremony there for Jakhar. But now Kapil Sibal has filed his nomination as an independent candidate. He's not formally joined the Samajwadi Party, but has been fully backed by the SP.
पूर्व कांग्रेस नेता कपिल सिब्बल ने आज राज्यसभा का नामांकन दाखिल किया है। उत्तर प्रदेश से हमारे साथ खास बात के लिए मौजूद है। कपिल सिब्बल जी, आज आपने नामांकन दाखिल किया, आपने कहा कि इंडिपेंडेंट तौर पे, पहली बात ये सब फैसला क्यों? इस तरीके से फैसला क्यों इंडिपेंडेंट तौर पे?
ये तो मैं चाहता था कि अगर मैं वापस, और मैंने पब्लिकली बोला था कि मैं किसी के दल में पेश नहीं होगा, शामिल नहीं होगा। आपको याद होगा मैंने एक पब्लिक स्टेटमेंट की थी। तो एक बार मैं पब्लिक स्टेटमेंट कर दूं तो उसके पीछे मैं कैसे हट सकता हूं? मैंने हमेशा जो कहा उसी का पालन किया, और इसी को सोच, इस बात को सोच पे रखते हुए मैंने अखिलेश जी को कहा कि मैं चाहता हूं कि मैं राज्यसभा में जाऊं, लेकिन एक ही शर्त में कि आप मेरा समर्थन कीजिएगा एज ए निर्दलीय।
बिना किसी शर्त के आपको समर्थन दिया?
बिना किसी शर्त के। कोई ऐसी बात हुई ही नहीं। किस बात की शर्त हो सकती है? वो ये मुझे एक मौका दे रहे हैं, मैं क्या शर्त रख सकता हूं? शर्त
आपने समय समय पे खुले तौर पर अपनी बातों को सामने रखा है, लेकिन कांग्रेस से इस्तीफा देने की प्रमुख वजह क्या रही?
नहीं, कोई वजह नहीं है। ये एक परिवार से हम जुड़े हुए थे 30-31 साल के बाद। लगा मुझे कि अब वक्त आ गया है कि मुझे एक निर्दलीय के रूप में, अगर मुझे सदन में जगह मिलती है तो मैं एक निर्दलीय के रूप में आवाज उठाऊं। यही एक वजह है। मुझे कांग्रेस से कोई खटाव नहीं है, कोई ऐसे कंप्लेंट नहीं है। मेरे संबंध आज भी बड़े अच्छे हैं, लेकिन इस्तीफा देने का वक्त आ गया था।
आप लगता है लीडरशिप को लेकर के जो सवाल कांग्रेस में चल रहे हैं उस पर आप क्या कहते हैं?
जब मैं कांग्रेस में था तो मैं कुछ सवाल उठा सकता था। अब मैं कांग्रेस में नहीं हूं, और ये सही नहीं है कि मैं अब क्योंकि मैं कांग्रेस में नहीं हूं, मैं कांग्रेस के ऊपर सवाल उठाऊं। ये उचित नहीं है। मैं ऐसा करूंगा नहीं और न मैं करना चाहता हूं।
समाजवादी पार्टी के साथ में पहले भी आपने उनका सहयोग किया है। आजम खान को बाहर लाने में आपकी भूमिका रही। ये भी एक रिलेशनशिप आप मायने रखता है?
बिल्कुल, बहुत मायने रखता है। मेरे वैसे तो सभी विपक्षी दलों, हिंदुस्तान के सभी विपक्षी दलों के नेताओं से मेरी बड़े अच्छे संबंध है। इनके साथ तो खैर बहुत ही अच्छे। वी आर ऑल constrained by the fact that we are members of political parties and we have to therefore abide by the discipline of those parties. But I think it is important to be an independent voice. और मैं समझता हूँ कि जब एक निर्दलीय की आवाज़ उठेगी तो वो लोगों को फिर ऐसा लगेगा कि किसी पार्टी से जुड़े हुए नहीं हैं। हम चाहते हैं कि 2024 में एक ऐसा माहौल बने हिंदुस्तान में कि मोदी सरकार की जो खामियां हैं वो जनता तक पहुंचाई जाएं, और हम इसका प्रयास करेंगे। मैं खुद इसमें इसका प्रयास करूंगा। 16 मई को मैंने कांग्रेस पार्टी से त्याग पत्र दे दिया है।
आज कपिल सिब्बल जी ने किया है, वो समाजवादी पार्टी के समर्थन से राज्यसभा में जा रहे हैं। तो हमें उम्मीद है कि देश में जो बड़े बड़े सवाल हैं, आज देश किस रास्ते पर है? आज बेरोजगारी सबसे ज़्यादा है, महंगाई रुक नहीं रही है, कानून व्यवस्था ध्वस्त होती चली जा रही है, हमारी सीमाएं सुरक्षित नहीं हैं, चीन लगातार हमारी सीमाओं के अंदर आ रहा है। तो इन तमाम बड़े बड़े सवालों पर मुझे लगता है कपिल सिब्बल जी समाजवादी पार्टी और अपने विचारों को रख पाएंगे।
Well, one thing is clear that today the Congress party is no longer a party. It's only about parivar, and therefore there's no space for dissenters, only for Darbaris. Whether it's Hardik Patel, whether it's Mr. Jharkhand, whether it's Mr. Sibal, then you are shown the door. And more than 177 Congress people, MPs, MLAs have left in the last few years. So clearly this shows that the party has neither any neta, niti or netritva, and there's a complete loss of confidence in the Congress leadership. This is also a reflection of the internal democracy or the lack of it within the Congress party. It in fact has as much democracy as the Republic of North Korea or China.
All right, let me cut across to Supriya Bhardwaj, who's been tracking those developments there. She's spoken to some of the Congress leaders too. Supriya, do you believe that the Congress is possibly now saying good riddance? Who's more relieved, the Congress party or Kapil Sibal? What sense did you get from the senior Congress leaders you spoke to?
Well, Nabila, as far as Mr. Kapil Sibal is concerned, the Congress party leaders as well as workers who are present at the AICC headquarters where we are at the moment are saying that why only just for the sake of one Rajya Sabha seat Mr. Sibal has taken this step. When we spoke to a lot of leaders, they said that what not party has given to him. He was the minister, the union minister. He was coming from the Rajya Sabha from various states. At the same time also they are saying he was one of the tallest leaders in the party in last 10 to 15 years. And they're saying only just for the sake of a Rajya Sabha seat, he decided to leave the party and get fielded as an independent by support of Samajwadi Party in Rajya Sabha. What is really interesting is that Congress party leaders are maintaining that the party is going through a tough phase, and right now party people have to come together and ensure that party is strengthened more. Instead of that, they are saying if people are going to worry only about their personal gains, then that is not going to happen in future. They cannot say, because there will be leaders who will be leaving the party for their personal gains. This is what the Congress party is maintaining. When we spoke to Tariq Anwar, he said categorically, Sibal Saab se ye umeed nahi thi. When we asked that why are you saying so, that he said that because party had given a lot to Mr. Sibal, there was a lot of respect. There was also the Rajya Sabha seats, the union minister post. Then Mr. Sibal, when party is going through a very tough phase, decides to leave and go just for the sake of Rajya Sabha, doesn't behave well. This is what Mr. Tariq Anwar said. When we spoke to other section of leaders, they said that there are many leaders in the party, there are many workers in the party who have been working for decades altogether, but party hasn't given them any post or position or ministership, but they are still associated with the party, because right now the battle is all about the ideology. And at the same time, some of the leaders, Nabila, are pointing towards Rahul Gandhi's statement which was given yesterday in the Cambridge University, where he said that party is going through transition phase and they will be opening doors for millions and millions of youngsters, people who want to come and join the Congress party and fight this ideological battle. So they are saying that certainly what Tariq Anwar and other leaders we spoke to are maintaining that a lot of people will come, a lot of people will go. Party is not going to, have a huge dent because of Mr. Sibal going, because they are saying
go
that
on, but at the end of it, you're losing out on assets like Sibal. He could have been pacified, even if the Congress is looking at Kapil Sibal's move as hunger for power. At the end of it, Kapil Sibal was the same man who constantly pointed fingers at the kind of the dilapidated state within the Congress party. They could have listened to him and rectified it maybe, instead of sidelining him after one point, because we know he also lost out support from the same G23 delegation. So after no response and really no reaction from the senior leaders of the Congress, Kapil Sibal may have taken his decision. He's like, why stay here if I'm getting another opportunity to be part of the Rajya Sabha, even if that means I file as an independent candidate, even if that means Samajwadi Party has to support me. So he got a great chance, which he took an opportunity.
Well, Nabila, Mr. Sibal was invited at the Chintan Shivir, the Nav Sankalp Chintan Shivir, which was in a way being seen as a massive exercise by the Congress leadership to pacify all sections and to be battle ready for 2024. But Mr. Sibal didn't turn up there, and rather what is very interesting is in his statement that it was on 16th of May, he resigned from the Congress party. On 15th May, the Chintan Shivir ended in Udaipur, and we know that the leaders came back to Delhi and there was a meeting going on at AICC headquarters as to what is going to be the road ahead. But Mr. Sibal, who was invited at the Chintan Shivan, didn't go there, and rather he said today that he had resigned on 16th of May. So the Congress party is maintaining that they had reached out to Mr. Sibal, that come, let's sit down and discuss the entire issue.
But was
just
Chintan
like in the case of
was the Chintan Shivan a real place for the Congress party to pacify a leader who's been long upset with the party? Was that the space to actually try and reconcile? Not too sure about that. He may have needed special attention, at least for the moment, considering he's had that kind of animosity with the party, has been constantly pointing fingers at the senior leadership. He should have been invited for a separate meeting altogether instead of involving him with a crowd as part of that Chintan Shivir. These are just our views at this point. What could really have gone behind Kapil Sibal deciding to call it quits from the Congress party? But let's have a listen at what suspended Congress leader, political analyst Sanjay Jha had to say about Sibal's exit. Let me quickly cut across to Sanjay Jha, who was a former Congress leader. He could give us a perspective on what really happened. Mr. Jha, thank you very much for joining India today. Here is Kapil Sibal, another tall senior Congress leader who's decided to call it quits.
You know, he was frustrated to a great extent as being one of the linchpin of the G23 group within the Congress who have been talking about reforms and changes. So I guess he was terribly disillusioned, probably did not see the Congress party reforming at the pace or having the intent to kind of make the changes that were drastically needed. So, although he moves over to the Samajwadi Party, I think what is encouraging is that he will continue to kind of take on the current establishment, which in my opinion, where I agree with my very senior colleague that it is a very anti-democratic setup we have in India. And as long as Mr. Sibal succeeds in that crusade, I think the Congress party can still try and, kind of ensure that it doesn't lose more good people. In my opinion, losing elections is bad enough, but losing people is awful because replacing talent takes a long, long time. And especially when you are losing people like Mr. Sibal or Mr. Jhakar, who have been with the party for decades and have gone through ups and downs that have hung in there. I think that to me is very, very sad and tragic because I know that at the core, ideologically, Mr. Sibal has been a very true congressman and somebody who I think has always believed that the BJP needs to be taken on. He's aggressive. Everybody in the Congress, I think, wants to stop this juggernaut.
Doesn't seem like his word was ever taken well. He was always looked at as a betrayer for the Congress party. He was looked at someone who was trying to defame the Congress, and his points were never taken. Eventually, Kapil Sibal went on to be his own man. He led the G23 delegation. He hosted dinners for the G23 team. It almost became a parallel leadership within the Congress led by Kapil Sibal.
Even though he's left the Congress party, I do hope people in the Congress recognize that, you got to have dialogue with people. I'm of the fundamental opinion that the leadership must engage with those who are actually questioning you, who are critical of you, because they only do that when they care. There are two kinds of people in politics in my experience. Those who remain quiet and are sycophantic and will never tell you the truths. And those who are vocal, who are critical, who care. And if you're going to ignore those very people who are putting their own political career in jeopardy because they believe that they're actually not doing anything wrong. But, if there's a perception going to be created that anybody who's critical of the party is a pro-BJP guy or, he's a conspirator or he's somebody who wants to disturb the, the paradigm, that's wrong. Challenging a system that is not delivering is exactly what democracy is all about. So I do hope, the Congress leadership kind of wakes up to this reality that while you can lose a Hardik Patel who was there for a couple of years, losing Mr. Jhakar, who's, I think, in my opinion, a very committed congressman till he's now joined the BJP, unfortunately, I would say. But Mr. Sibal, I'm glad is staying on, at least with a party that to has been a Congress's political ally. And I know Mr. Sibal well enough to tell you with a lot of confidence that he is not going to compromise on his ideological stance. And that, to my mind, is a lesson for all those people in the Congress that you need to stop these leakages. You got to work on it with the determination to say, listen, today I will make a list of 25 people in the Congress who are unhappy. Then we're going to reach out to all of them, listen to them with respect. You're not doing anybody a favor. If the Congress party is to defeat the BJP, it has to start by first getting its house in order. That's what people in the party want. That's what people like Manish Tiwari or Milind Devra or, Prithviraj Chavan, you talk of Shashi Tharoor. All these people are people who have a deep ideological commitment. They want a passionate, robust fight back by the Congress. But when you're going to lose people, how are you going to take on the BJP? I mean, they're a monstrous machine.
Sanjay Jha, I want to ask you, given that Congress is losing elections, state after state, its quota obviously in the upper house is going to come down. I would expect more such desertions within the Congress party. It's happened in the past where Abhishek Manu Singhvi got a ticket from the TMC to contest the Rajya Sabha elections with the TMC support, but didn't quit the TMC. Here, Sibal has quit the Congress. He's no mass leader in that sense. He didn't win the Lok Sabha elections the last time around and even before that. But in one sense, this is a huge setback because this is the old guard of the Congress party, essentially. Troubleshooter during the Anna Hazare movement, sitting minister in both UPA 1, UPA 2. The optics of this is terrible for the Congress, isn't it?
It is. And I'll tell you something, one of the mistakes we very often make is to attribute a mass following only to if somebody is a Lok Sabha MP. Mr. Sibal is well known, perhaps more than many Lok Sabha MPs today. So, the following doesn't have to be necessarily at the ground level, although I agree with you that if you have that ability to influence millions of people, that's fantastic. But not everybody can be that pan-India leader. But Mr. Sibal's reputation is phenomenal. I mean, his extraordinary grasp of the legalese is kind of noted by one and all. But you're right. I mean, the Congress has to do something about it now. Now or it's never, because there must be so many other people within the Congress who are disillusioned or, kind of demoralized today, who are not speaking up. And, my concern is Mr. Sibal is leaving, and that's a headline. But what about the thousands of workers who are today joining the BJP or other parties at the ground level, unsung heroes who actually work for you at the booth level? Can you imagine that loss? You cannot replace losing anybody. A Congress ideologue has to be stopped from getting out of the door. And Mr. Sibal, well, of course, with Samajwadi support, he'll be there. So in the Rajya Sabha, the Congress will have somebody who will be fighting for a similar cause. But you need such people in your own team, formally, informally, in every sense of the word. Because, parties can only survive and thrive if they encourage a lot of conversation within, especially those that are critical of your failures, especially that question your leadership fault lines, especially those that actually tell you what could be an alternative way of looking at problems instead of following a status quoist approach.
कपिल सिब्बल जी जो पार्टी के इतने वरिष्ठ नेता हैं, उन्होंने पार्टी से रिज़ाइन कर दिया और जो है अब इंडिपेंडेंट के तौर पे सपा के सपोर्ट से राज्यसभा का नॉमिनेशन जो है भर दिया है।
देखिए, वैसे तो कपिल सिब्बल जी बहुत लंबे समय से कांग्रेस से जुड़े हुए थे। कांग्रेस ने भी उनको तमाम जो महत्वपूर्ण जिम्मेदारी होती है, प्रतिष्ठा होती है, सम्मान होता है, सब दिया। लेकिन वैसे तो हर व्यक्ति अपने भविष्य के फैसला लेने के लिए स्वतंत्र है, लेकिन कम से कम उनसे ये अपेक्षा नहीं की जाती थी कि वो एक देश के माने हुए वरिष्ठ वकील भी है, तो उनसे ऐसी उम्मीद नहीं थी।
कितना बड़ा डेंट है कांग्रेस पार्टी के लिए?
देखिए, अब ये तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। कांग्रेस एक राष्ट्रीय पार्टी है, नेशनल पार्टी है, लोग आते हैं जाते हैं, तो उससे कोई पार्टी का बहुत बड़ा नुकसान हो जाएगा, ऐसा नहीं।
Now, Kapil Sibal's exit is indeed a big embarrassment for the Gandhis. While at Cambridge just a few days ago, this is what Rahul Gandhi had to say about the state of flux and implosion that the Congress is currently in.
All political formations go through transitions, right? If you look at the record of the Congress party, everybody gets excited that, we are now not in power for 7 years, we're in power for 70 years, right? And we've played a significant role in developing the country and in bringing India to where it is. Of course, we need to reinvent ourselves.
That's right.
We need to rethink. We need to rethink what our role is. We need to rethink how we interact with the people.
So what would be the first thing you would think requires a rethink?
The first thing that requires rethink is opening the doors of the Congress party and bringing in millions and millions of youngsters into the party.
So a new,
Right. That's the first thing.
millennium. Okay.
All right, let me quickly cut across to Ashwini Kumar, who was once part of the Congress party, joins us on the phone line on this. Ashwini, here is Kapil Sibal, a tall leader of the Congress, who's now called it quits, filed an independent nomination for the Rajya Sabha, backed by the Samajwadi Party. What do you think may have happened? Do you think the Congress failed to pacify him, or was it a bid for the Congress to send him off, and this was possibly the best? Kapil Sibal walked out himself.
Well, I think Mr. Sibal must have thought long and hard before he took his decisions. I've already said good luck to him. He's entitled to chalk out his own strategy and his own political future, and nobody should have any quarrel with it. Whether the Congress party was successful in retaining him or conducted itself in a manner that led to his leaving the party is in the realm of conjecture, and much has been known and said about it. I don't want to comment on it.
Right, but here, Mr. Kumar, we know that you yourself quit the Congress party. You weren't very happy with the way the party functioned at that point. So speaking of experience from your end, would you look at this as inevitable?
The situation speaks for itself. One after the other, senior congresspersons known for their long loyalties to the party are leaving the party. Obviously, something is not right. It is only for the leadership to look inwards and see why this is happening, and that these things are happening soon after the Chintan Shiva, another poll tells its own story. I don't think there is any rocket science in determining why these things are happening. But I still wish Congress party the best of luck, and I wish all my colleagues who are charting a new political path for themselves also good luck.
Right. Mr. Ashwini, a quick word. Is dissent taken well? Is criticism taken well within the Congress party? From your experience, have you raised a red flag on the functioning of the party? Was it ever received well?
Well, what I did and what I did not do when I was a member of the Congress party, I would not like to comment on it. I did speak out, and I was listened to as well. Whether things happened in a particular way or should have happened in a different way is now history, and I would like to reopen that.
All right, Mr. Ashwini, thank you very much for joining us with those details. Well, here we're looking at a string of exits. The latest, Kapil Sibal now resigns from the Congress, joins as an independent candidate for the Rajya Sabha backed by the Samajwadi Party. This comes just days after Hardik Patel from the Congress Gujarat called it quits, and then you had Punjab's Sunil Jakar, who bid adieu, joined the BJP, certainly coming as a big embarrassment for the Congress party ahead of the big 2024 poll.